talk about that. We want to know about the higher education opportunities in the state sector. How would you get selected? Do you have a choice? And even you probably want to know a bit about the university life for your son, and beyond that, maybe even employability. So let's try to answer some of these questions in the next 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. Then we can have a discussion. I think before you actually think about opportunities, the question that is in your mind is, what do I want my son to be, right? Because future is fairly uncertain. Nobody knows what it is. And 2020 probably gave us a chance to contemplate on that a lot more. So very often what we see in Sri Lanka is parents come and tell us, I want my son to be, or my daughter to be, what things, and would you please advise what they should be doing. But I think the important question is, what would your son want to be? With that, his passion, his dream for the future is as important as that of yours for him. So I urge you to blend these two together when you look at the future of your child. And then the next question is, what, if I want to be someone, why do I want to be that, right? Because quite often we see, why I'm telling this every now and then, almost in every year, we see kids coming and saying, look here, I didn't want to be an engineer, but my parents wanted me to do that. And then ask, like, okay, why you don't want to be an engineer, or why do your parents want to be an engineer, you to be an engineer? They don't really know. So I think it's important to understand the what you want to be in the future, and why you want to do that. Today, unlike the days that you and I were students, I think kids have fair amount of information at their hands, so that they can actually understand why they want to do something. And it is important that you have that discussion with them, and then identify the best route for him. Like that, I think that is that is what you can do as a parent. Guide him in achieving his dream of the future. So, in doing so, let's try to see how you can find information about the state higher education in Sri Lanka. As you know, University Grants Commission of Sri Lanka, which is commonly known as UGC, is the governing body in selecting students to the state universities. So they do every year after the A-level results are released, and they start advertising. What you see is what I just took this morning from the UGC website. So they start giving information, and they provide that information with a comprehensive handbook which gives all the details of the admission. So admission to all the undergraduate courses in the universities in Sri Lanka is given in a handbook, fairly lengthy publication, but it really carries everything that you need to know of. If your child is either doing A-levels or even planning to do A-levels, I strongly advise that you download this document, which is available in all 3 languages, and try and go through it. I know it's like you probably need another handbook on how to read this handbook, but it gives all the necessary information about, not only about the courses, I mean, this, what qualifications you need to have, expectations, all those, and like websites for further information, all that. So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly run you through some of the information available, and then as I go, also if you have questions, type them into the chat. As Ms. Nirmali said, we can look at those questions. So if you look at we do have like 14 different state universities and many other institutes which are governed by the University Grants Commission of Sri Lanka. I just put it because many of us actually don't know that there are that many universities in Sri Lanka. These universities offer multiple different degree programs, and you get around 34,000 candidates. I think last year we got about 31,000 some number, and this year because of this dual advanced levels, we are getting more students. So you get around 34,000 candidates into these multiple degree programs, and of the qualified candidates, not everyone applies. So the number, though you have about 100,000 qualifying, the number of applications are slightly less. Just a brief thing about how the university selection happens, because unfortunately your son is in a very demanded district, right? But 40% of all places are filled using the all island merit basis. So district basis does not apply to those 40%, and then you get about the 55% on the district quota, like based on the population of the district, you get that. And then there is a 5% which is given to educationally disadvantaged districts. There are 16 districts, and that 5% is shared among those 16 districts. But the art stream, which is becoming very highly competitive, has a 100% merit basis. Because then, like, if the kids who get the highest marks, irrespective of from which district, will be selected to the multiple degree programs in the art stream. There are some degree programs like dance, music, those are exempted from that 100% merit basis, but larger majority of the humanities and social science degree programs select students based on 100% merit basis. So if you look at the opportunities are there, like there are a lot of opportunities in the state higher education, and encourage your son to gain the advantage of that. If you look at the A levels, today we have 6 main streams in the advanced level. I hope that STC is offering all 6, but I'm sure the popular ones like arts, commerce, biological sciences, and physical sciences, those were the ones we had originally. And fairly recently, the government introduced engineering technology stream and biosystems technology stream. One objective was to provide employable degree programs. Other one was actually to slowly reduce the number of students going to the art streams, especially in the underprivileged districts. So today we have 6 streams, and if you look at, I'll quickly show you, I'll not go into this, but if you look at the number of degree categories that are available in each of these streams, right? So you have the traditional BA, and you also have many other things, peace and conflict resolution, or like even teaching English as a second language is becoming very popular. And we do have all these different degrees which are available for art stream. And commerce stream is slightly restricted, but the number of students taken for these, especially the management and public management special degree, are large. So when though the number of degree categories are smaller, there are larger number of students. I mean, if you take Jawadanapura, for example, the management faculty is as big as University of Moratu, I believe, in terms of number of students. So that's the commerce stream. And the biological sciences, if you look at, has many different things, because we tend to believe that it's the medicine, the dental surgery, the veterinary science, what we traditionally know, and the agriculture are the ones. But if you look at this list, you can see, I mean, today we have multiple different disciplines: the nursing, the pharmaceutical, the physiotherapy, whatever, even export agriculture is a degree program that is coming under that. So each and every one of these categories are described in the handbook, and which you can download from the UGC website, the URL I gave earlier. Moving on to physical science, it's not again a huge list, but if you look at it, it's largely for the engineering programs and the physical sciences. We also have computer science and ICT, or computing and information systems. Those are coming, and also Moratuwa has a degree program in transport and logistics management. So different things, and here it is by saying physical science stream, you know what we mean is your son will have to do combined mathematics, physics, and chemistry if you want to get into these programs. We do have engineering technology stream and the biosystems technology stream, which is with the new faculties of technology at various universities are providing this degree program, which is fairly standardized. The University Grants Commission took a special interest in ensuring that these degree programs are maintaining the same standards. So this was, as I said, this is more to cater for the demand in the country and the developing needs of the country, and also to ensure that it's not as, these are not as resource intense as physical science or bioscience streams, but provide the students with the STEM education, the science education. ICT also is a category where they do have some of the subjects coming under. And also what is important is that you do have another whole list of courses for which students from different subject streams are eligible. So these are like very many different things, and the subject combinations are not very strict, not rigid, like saying, oh, you have to do physical science or you have to do biological sciences. You can do a combination of subjects and you can get qualified for these as well. So if you look at a whole list of this, and I'll just explain one of these which I'm familiar with, because University of Moratuwa about 3 years ago started a bachelor's degree in bachelor's in business science, the number 35 on the list. And if you go to the book, if you go and look for this course, it says you need to have the, because now in here, what we have done is, Moratuwa traditionally took students from the physical science stream, but because business science requires both sides, we have made it open both for the physical science stream and also for the commerce stream. So kids who are doing physical science or commerce can apply for this. And so when you go to the course, it will show you some information. I have deleted some of the information, but it shows you the information about the course and the requirements. So if a child is not in a traditional stream, they can also, I mean, this one still requires one or the other of the traditional streams, but some of the areas do not even require that. You can have a combination of subjects, a basket of subjects, and then apply for those. So if your son is especially the adventurous type who need not to fit in, who would not like to fit into a frame but would do different subject combinations, you should carefully read all those degree programs which are taking students with alternatively non-streamed subjects. So I'm not going to go into individual courses, but if you have any questions about a particular course where you need the clarification, I think we can talk about that. And if you look at now, if you look at this list of things, there are multiple different options available. Today we have sports science, we have the financial engineering, food business management. I mean, if you look at the choices the kids can make, it's a whole lot. I mean, I remember like when I was working for the Higher Education for the 21st Century project, going to Badulla, Uvavellasa University, and talking to the kids about what they do. I was like, now this tea technology and value addition, for example, I mean, kids doing tea technology, learning hands-on how you can do the value addition or how you can do the hospitality and tourism management. It's amazing because traditionally we never thought of doing degree programs in these areas. But today, because of the market needs, we have all these multiple different uh, programs that are coming up out. So if you look at, I mean, we have at Moritua, we have this fashion design and product development. What these kids do and the future that they have, I mean, the things they are doing is amazing. And I don't think, like, I mean, I wish that we had things like that. Shehan would remember, like, when I went to school, my dream was to be a computer scientist. You saw my white hair, so I can tell you the year I did in 1986 when I was doing A levels. My dream was to be a computer scientist, and at that point I was saying, I'm not going to go to the engineering faculty because I want to be a scientist. And engineering faculty did not I mean, none of the universities in Sri Lanka at that point had a computer program. I probably read somewhere and I wanted to do that. uh, Fortunately for me, University of Moritua started computer science and engineering back in 1985. So I was fortunate to do my first degree in computer science and engineering in the second batch of students. But if not for the Vice Chancellor, University of Moritua, being a guest of honor at one of the events at my school, I don't think I would have ever applied to Moritua even, because I didn't know that Moritua had computer engineering. But fortunately for me, Professor Willie Mendis, who was then Vice Chancellor of University of Moritua, came to my school and started talking about computer engineering. So I think today you don't have that problem. You have all the information that is needed in this handbook. I mean, it's a one-stop shop for, like, all the information you want to get, and websites of various universities also give information. But if you really want to find out what are the programs, all what you need to do is to go through this book, which is published by University Grants Commission every year. It even gives the previous year's cutoff marks, so you get an idea about what kind of ESET score that you need for you to be eligible to. But that's no guarantee, no, the, like, year on year it changes. So moving on, uh, if I know that I need not to kind of preach you on this, right? Why do you need higher education? I mean, why, why is it important that your child is going a formal higher education program? But if you look at, I just took these pictures, it is important that we help them realize their passion, right? And that sense of accomplishment that you get when you learn some topic further is very important. And we as parents want them to have that sense of discipline, being able to have a stable economic conditions. All those are very important, I think, and that's one of the reasons why we want them to be in higher education. Of course, if you look at as teachers and as parents, but what we want them to do is to, because they should be able to live on their own, they should be able to think, ask questions, analyze things, look at new ideas. We want the world to be a better place tomorrow, so we want them to explore the new ideas, be very creative. And that's what the university education would be giving them. And that's one of the reasons I think why we encourage our children to explore this all these things by going through the higher education. And I think the bottom line is, when you know better, you end up doing better. It's that is all what we want our children to be, right? We want them to have a better future than what we had. So I believe that the I believe in this, otherwise I wouldn't be here. So path to success is the higher education. If you like, I kind of promised to tell you a bit about life at university. If you really look at, I think what the kids who get out from the school are young adults. But what we do for these I mean, we as university teachers are very fortunate to get students who really want to, who are very passionate about studying and who really want to have a better education. So if you take these students, put them all together, I think what ultimate outcome is we come up with a citizen of whom we all can be proud of. So the that's in a single sentence, if I am to summarize what the university would help, how the university would help for you and your son, that's exactly what it would be. So there are multiple, I mean, if you think about it, at school they do multiple things. They learn, they do the extracurricular activities, they learn to live with part of the society. When they come to the university as young adults, they also do the studies, they learn to manage multiple responsibilities, and also they live with they learn to live with colleagues from all different parts of the society and help each other, learn to lead each other, and become a citizen, become a mature adult by the time they graduate, who would be making a very meaningful contribution to the society. I could not help but take this from your song. This is a school song. So it's that call of duty. They are getting ready. They are being guided to do that at the university. That's more or less what I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions, we can take them now. You all, either you need to type that on the chat or unmute your mic, right?
If you all have any questions, please be kind enough to type it on the chat room. Shehan, do you want me to open the people to speak up or what?
Either way, shall we? We don't see any questions on the chat.
Okay, so shall we open it just to see if anybody will respond?
Yeah, and just one question that was asked last week by a parent to whom I told that we are having a workshop like this. Can you elaborate a little bit about this IT physics maths combination?
Yeah.
What can be done?
Yeah, if you look at because this very many of our kids probably want to do ICT, it is called, I believe. ICT, maths and combined maths and physics, or maybe it's even ICT business studies and economics kind of thing. There are multiple programs which allows those students to come. The IT Bachelor's in Information Technology and Management at Moratuwa is one of those. So if you, that basket of things I showed you, you will see many of those programs allow students to come in. But unfortunately, if you take Moratuwa, for example, none of the engineering degree programs allow students without chemistry. So it's the rigid physical science thing, but there are many programs which allow students, and some of these universities have now, when you do physical science, you can apply for the degree program, which is called physical science, the Bachelor of Science, specializing in whatever. And then you also have another ICT degree, ICT intake, where you can apply for that particular program. So in the like second year also, you get kids from the physical science stream who came into the degree, and the kids who came from the non-physical science stream doing ICT and maths. I think they then say ICT, physics and maths. So if I think many physical science faculties do, there's many science faculties who are taking students from the physical science stream, also take students with those 3 subjects. I mean, as of now, it is bit limited, the opportunities that are there, but you do have, and they do ICT because they are passionate about ICT, right? Not because they want to be engineers or whatever. So there are many IT degree programs which would be taking them in, and Moratu has one as well.
Ms. Visakha, there is a question from Dashi. Is it possible to talk about different combinations, commerce and arts? Like
you mean
maybe
if Darshi can, what do you mean, different combinations available at the universities or the subject combinations?
May I talk? Yeah. Thank you, Professor Visakha Nanakkar. Just to clarify about, the intake by having not the traditional, not selecting the traditional combinations, but if you do ICT with a language like that.
Yeah, that again, Darshi, as I told you, that if you take the book and look at the look at those various combinations that are required for different degree programs, it gives a basket of subjects. That's what is important. You have to have one from that basket. So if you want, I can show you something from the handbook. So but you need to have one of those from the basket. That is the important thing. Let me.
All right, thank you.
So it is important that we get those subjects from the basket. Now, if you can see what I'm sharing now, for example, if you look at this one, it says at least one of the following subjects: arts, higher mathematics, combined mathematics, geography, chemistry, biology, physics. So this is for the architecture. And then they say, and other subjects from the following list. So the at least one of the top ones. So you can even have 2 or all 3 from the top one. But if you have one from the top, and then you have to have the other ones from the basket which is given here. Now, for example, if you look at the French, Japanese languages, Tamil, Pali, Chinese, all those also are included in this. So you can do, let's say, geography and 2 of the subjects from this one. So it is listed, it is nicely listed here, but as I said, now how do you find it out? It's a bit of a lengthy document, but once you get into that, I think it won't be that hard. So what you need to do is the numbers, like if you go to this, and they give all the information like duration, what the candidates need to have, and all these different categories and all those. So it's it's not that difficult, but you need to know what to look for. Now, if you look at the landscape architecture, which is also conducted by Moratu, now in addition to the earlier combined maths and all those, now bring in agricultural science also as one of these following subjects. So a kid who is doing agricultural science may not be able to, I think, apply to architecture, but can apply to landscape architecture with 2 other subjects from the basket. Now ICT is everywhere. There are some more questions, right?
Yeah, you want to take or you want us to?
Is there
There's one-
ICT degree? Which one should we take?
After you
Darshi
work,
is
only
one.
this work.
about
So
professional
please.
qualifications against academic qualifications, Ms. Visakha, like if you can just brief, like
Sorry?
there's a question on how you feel about professional qualifications as against
Versus, okay, yeah.
academic qualifications.
So I think, yeah, what do you feel about professional qualifications as against academic qualifications? Now, some professional qualifications do have an academic route as well, like if you even take SIM, CIMA, the so qualifications offered by places like Institution of Chemistry, all those do have an academic part as well. So it's not just the professional experience, but they also teach the kids, do exams and all that. So I think if you look, that's what I said. What do your child want to be is very important here. And on the other hand, if you look at, because as parents, what we try to do is to give them that exposure, that experience of having a formal education, right? So if you look at what is if you identify the child's needs of enhancing not just the knowledge, all his knowledge, skills, attitude, everything, you need to make a judgment on that. Some of the professional qualifications are actually formal academic qualifications as well. But then what kind of exposure, I don't know. I remember it was during my time, the time that we got selected to the universities, that the universities were closed for nearly 3 years due to JVP insurgencies. And many of my colleagues started doing CIMA, right? And then today, I think Sri Lanka has the highest student population of CIMA students outside of UK. It's not you cannot just compare this sense that and say one is better or not. In terms of knowledge, I believe like it depends on what your child want to be, but you need to look at the other factors as well. Though I said they are young adults, if you look at, you consider them to be a child until they get a degree, right? You don't want them to be the breadwinner of the family. So you need to look at what your requirements are. In the professional world, having a professional qualification sometimes is as good as having an academic qualification. It would not be a disadvantage, but exactly what kind of experience do you want your son to have is a concern that you need to look at. Is it possible to apply for 2 degree programs at the same time? The state, if you can apply for only one state university internal degree program. So if you apply for one and get selected and get registered, you kind of get disqualified for applying again. You can apply only for one, but and we clearly say an internal student can register only for one internal degree. But that being said, you doing another program is not prevented. If I what the kind of answer to the next question as well, Moratuwa offers an external degree in IT, which is called Bachelor's in BIT, Bachelor's of Information Technology External. And if any student registered for any degree program can register for the BIT as well. It is not completely free. It is a fee living course, but which gives you a 3-year Bachelor's in Information Technology. So while you are registered for a internal degree, you can register for an external degree like that, but you are not allowed to register for 2 internal degrees like medicine and law conducted by University of Colombo. Moving on to Mr. Vijita Kumara's question on is there any ICT degree for accounting, ICT and statistics in University of Moratuwa? No, among the internal degrees, you don't have. As I said, Faculty of Business offers a Bachelor's in Business Science. You either need to come from the traditional physical science stream or the commerce stream to be eligible to get into that. But as I said, the BIT, the external degree, you don't have any problem. If you have 3 passes in any subject combination in A levels with a credit pass for mathematics at O levels, you are eligible to get that, but that's an external degree. The artificial intelligence, multiple degree programs do cover artificial intelligence, but largely in the engineering, it's computer science and engineering, or in some of the computer science programs also today do look at AI in many of their courses. So in terms of subject stream at A levels, I hope he's doing physical science. If that is the case, if your son is passionate about artificial intelligence, either you should encourage him to get into engineering and do computer science and engineering, or select the multiple computer science or ICT programs which are offered by other universities. And some of those do not even require physical science stream to be the stream. What are the Suranmali's question is what are the other options in biological sciences other than medicine? By doing those subjects, is it possible to get employment? For example, food science. If you look at today's market, the job market, there are multiple opportunities. I mean, if you look at the FMCG business, right? Companies like Unilever's or even Melbourne, all these places do have a lot of opportunities for these specializations like food sciences. If you look at the graduates who are being employed by companies like Nestle and all that, they prefer graduates coming from food sciences, agriculture, all those, than actually somebody without that experience. So there are, and my thing, I mean, what we see with the students is they need the knowledge. They also need the skills in order to gain employment, because private sector would not be just looking at a paper qualification. They need them to have the skills. If there is any job opportunity, if the student get the entrance and obtain BSc degree in the country, I mean, that's the same thing I was saying. If you actually look at the requirements of the world of work and what the kids need to do, I think what is important is the 21st century skills, right? So this is one thing actually we need to be very mindful about. No matter what kind of education you give, if they need to have these skills. Today we talk about soft skills, the transferable skills, or 21st century skills, all that, but of which I picked these 4 because these 4 C's are very important. So they should be able to effectively communicate. They should be the critical thinkers with creativity, and they should work as teams. So this is what is important. Just imparting knowledge would not be very helpful for them to get those qualifications. So if you actually look at some of these, like I say this within quotes, the so-called professional qualifications, they are just trying to give them a qualification for money, and not inculcating in any of these skills in the students. So it is very important that their formal education prepares them with all the skills that the industry needs. I think gone are the days where just because you have a qualification that you get a job. So I don't think anyone can give a guarantee, even with not just a BSc degree. other than medicine, where the government recruits all the MBBS holders, there is no guarantee that you get a job, but there are definitely multiple opportunities if you really inculcate in yourself all the skills that are needed. And today, over and over again, as the lecturers, educators in the state sector is reminded of this. And if you look at what a child would do at the university today is very different to what we did as students, perhaps, because they are being given a lot of opportunities to learn these skills, sharpen these skills. What is the better option out of combined maths, IT, physics versus combined maths, IT and statistics? Can they, considering job opportunities, can they do higher maths instead of physics? Shehan, do you want to take that now? Because if you look at once again, it depends on what your child wants to do, right? If they now either of these options do not get qualified for enter into the engineering, but as I said, there are many other opportunities if you do these combined maths, IT and physics, or combined maths, IT and statistics. So it depends on what they want to do and what kind of opportunities are available. So if you plan to get your child into state sector, the options are getting very limited with the second option than with the first. But nevertheless, I mean, they can do, if you do combined maths and higher maths, they quite often go into the same category. So there won't be a huge advantage. Stat versus physics, if you really want to be a data scientist, one of the buzzword today, it may be good to have that combination in ICT, combined maths and stat. But once again, opportunities in the state sector would be very limited. I hope I answer your question. It's very difficult to say which is better, right? It depends on what your child wants to do.
Yeah, I think just the job opportunity should be just one parameter in the equation, right? Not the only, right? So what he wants to do, and yeah, what is possible within the university system should dictate what combination that you do. But I think in this case, all the parents who are here, I mean, the students have already selected the set of subjects, right? So I think it's good to go to the handbook and check and see what are the options available.
But the last question
maybe
is
one question
about
that in the discussion with somebody else, Visakha, just to know, now a student who has actually gone overseas and done his preliminary studies, got a bachelor's degree, can he come back to Sri Lanka and select one of the university degrees that are available here?
For the undergrad, like a student who has gone abroad and has done his A-levels or degree.
No, done a bachelor's degree there.
Okay. Why would they want to do another bachelor's degree? He can do a master's. He can.
If it's another field that they want to choose.
Yeah. So there is a foreign quota for the undergraduate degrees, but it has very stringent criteria, but it is based on your A levels. So you need to have your London or whatever A levels during a specific period, and then if you satisfy all the requirements, there's a 5% quota for the people in the foreign service and all that. They can do that. But on the other hand, my advice is there are multiple postgraduate level programs offered by all these universities. So even if you want to switch now, for example, University of Murray offers a master's in IT, which does not necessarily require first degree in IT. you can even do it as a conversion. So there are multiple opportunities. Today we see a lot of students like that, a lot of students coming back wanting to do that, getting into the postgraduate programs of the state universities, which are fee living, but I think comparatively still they are good quality, not so expensive, so you can do that. Any other questions?
With your permission, Ms. Visakha, there was a question on minimum qualifications for law and to enter law college. So it's a 3 credit. I just want to inform that person it's 3 credit passes for the languages you need at O levels. That is like English, Maths and Sinhala, whatever out of Maths and Sinhala, whatever the subject that child takes, you have to have credit passes. And for A levels, 3 passes, just 3 passes as of now. But as far as I know that they are going to amend this, and electronic, the A-level results might be a little higher than what they ask for right now.
And then they need to pass the
law entrance exam.
Yes. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Thank you, Nirmali. Thank you. I wanted to say I'm not 100% sure on that. So thank you for that clarification.
Yes, law entrance exams right now, you have to do language. And if you're doing English, in Sinhala medium, you have to do, there's a general knowledge paper.
Yeah, okay.
So likewise, if you're doing doing the Sinhala paper in English, the other general knowledge paper.
Any other questions?
Yes, may I ask one question? I'm Darshi again. Just to clarify what the aptitude tests at Moratuwa, President Anakkara, is it like how competitive, and just to get a feel of it?
Yeah, aptitude tests are conducted for, as you know, for architecture, various different programs where you really need to look at the aptitude for that, like ability to do certain things like express yourself in a drawing or something like that. In terms of competitiveness, if you look at it, we have large number of students applying for these, and this time, for the first time, we were having it in the regional centers as other universities as well. But generally, now, if suppose that the number of places available for the program is 100, we have to send at least 3. I mean, from the students, we have to select at least 3 times more. So the list, you will see that UGC publishes these lists on the web. So it's not as competitive as something where you need to be among the top 100 to get into these 100 places. You can be among the 300 who are qualified, and then if you have the ESET score that is required, you get into it. But in terms of number of students doing the aptitude test, there are something like 200, 300, I mean, like a lot of students doing it because of the requirements. So and as you would have seen, these aptitude tests are held on alternate dates. So they can come to Moratuwa aptitude test, they can go to Rajarathawan, they can go to Wellassa. So it allows all these students to compete for all those. I hope I answered your question, Darshi.
I was expecting the numbers, like how many would apply and how, like, okay, 300 will be selected. Or if it is example 100, from one program,
Yeah, if it is, the requirement is that if you are taking in students, you need to at least have three times that passing the aptitude test. So standardization at the aptitude test is like that. It can be more, right, but at least that.
Yeah, how many would apply generally?
It varies, like from program to program it varies, but we have as I said, we have large numbers applying now. For the for 100 places you can have more than 2,000 applying, because these students apply to every program.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
don't probably have the necessary ISET score, but they still apply. When they apply, we have to give the test for everybody.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. How do the scholarships offered by the UGC or government for foreign universities work? The Ministry of Higher Education calls for the government scholarships for various foreign countries on the bilateral agreements. Ministry of Higher Education calls for applications. You can see them appearing in the newspapers and also on the MOHE website. I don't know, it will be Ministry of Education website in future, but until this year it was appearing in Ministry of Higher Education website. They get the applications, they then have the interviews. There is a criteria, so a larger panel of people would interview these candidates and look at their qualifications, look at their various different, I mean, different scholarships have different requirements. I mean, some are very strong on extracurricular activities, some are very strong on academic background, some even probably goes for the various other criteria as well. So depending on the criteria for the scholarship, Minister of Higher Education evaluates these candidates by a panel of people and then select those people. Do I answer you? Like that's so you need to apply, give all the qualification, like all what is required, duly filled application with all the documents and all that. Ministry would call your son for an interview, and based on that, they would inform you what happens. There are large number of, I mean, there are multiple different scholarship programs that are available from various countries.
Vishaka, what's the lapse period for students? Like, for example, if a child has taken the exam in 2018, but due to family issues did not go in for university studies, although he got the marks, what's the gap period that they are allowed to apply if they don't apply in the very first go?
None. If you do 2018, I mean, like if you did the children who have done 2018, 19 A levels, for example, should have applied with this batch, because they are not allowed to defer it, like get selected this year. Only like you need to apply in the year, and then if you want a deferment due to, like you said, family problems and all that, once when you go to the university, respective university, then you can ask for deferment of delaying the start of studies, but they cannot do otherwise. There is one exemption for something I can't exactly remember, but not on those kind of things. I mean, there was one very unfortunate situation once. I think this child lost her mother or something, could not apply, but there was no legal provisions for anybody to help her with getting selected. So, but the thing is, if a child faces a problem, the route is you apply, get selected, then apply for deferment from that university. That you can do. We have many times granted that once when they are at the university.
Right. No, this boy didn't. He just some family situation and didn't. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. There is a who applied for the first time. Is it like all who applied for the first will get a course? Is that what you're asking, Varsha? The students who apply need to have those the C score, the ISET score, required ISET score, but they, like, you know, if you look at, you can apply for multiple programs. So when you do physical science, you apply for engineering, you apply for physical science, Colombo, like that. Like that, you go on the first form. Then the UGC does multiple rounds. So if you don't get selected in the first round, they try to do that, but it doesn't, like, depending on your result score, if you are qualified, like as I told you, like of the nearly 80,000 applicants, only 34,000 would get a place. So if you are among those, you will get a place. Varsha, I hope I answer your question. And Mr. VR Pereira's question was answered by Shehan, because Moratuwa computer engineering, you need to have maths, physics, and chemistry.
Okay, I think
if the minimum required number not applied for an aptitude, what is the situation? No idea, but I don't think that happens. Good old days, it probably used to happen, but now numbers for any aptitude test is huge. Sorry, Nirmali, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have answered almost every question. So I think we can wrap up now. I would like to thank Mrs. Visakha Nanayakara for her informative and very interactive session. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedules and joining us. And I think you have given us more time, far more than what we have asked for. And also I would like to thank Pastor Kendall for volunteering to host the session, and Dr. Shehan for coordinating with Ms. Visakha Nanayakara and also with college to make this happen.
Thank you, Nirmali. I mean, it's a pleasure. I mean, because I know it, even being in a school like STC is still sometimes finding information is not easy. And my thing with St. Thomas's is we always, in every batch during my time, I mean, out of 200 or so, we always had a Thomian, and they were very helpful people. So I'm very happy to see more and more Thomians coming into the faculties and the state education system. So I have given my email address, and I mean, Shehan is as equally aware of these opportunities as I am. But if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. And anytime, any support you want, I'm more than willing to help you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nirmali, and thank you everyone, and thank you, Pastor Kendall,
Thanks
for the wonderful session.
Yeah, thank you so much once again, Mrs. Nanayakara. And we will make this presentation available on FB of the college website. So, okay. And also we are planning to have few more sessions, and hope to see you all in those seminars as well, webinars as well. Okay, a pleasant evening to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.